Hello, everybody. Welcome to Inside the Birds TV, presented by DraftKings. Geoff, Mosher, and Adam Caplan here. And yes, the Eagles have one game remaining Sunday versus Washington. But as we all know, that doesn't really mean much for the Eagles. And we are going to start to turn the page on the season and get into more evaluation mode. We obviously want to dive deep into the offense and really focus on the wide receiver position that's come under scrutiny here this year. And we felt who better than to join us today than an all-time Eagles great wide receiver, Mr. Mike Quick. You are still, Mike, the owner of the best Eagles receiving season in team history, 1,409 yards in 1983. I can't believe with all the passing going on in the NFL over the last 10 years, I think you're going to sit up top forever now.
No, there's no way that's going to happen. But they just have to have somebody who's productive for one good season and plays all 16 games and all of that good stuff. I can't believe that record still stands myself, because I thought, with D-Jack, the years that he's been here with the TOs, and, they've had a lot of really good receivers since that time. That was a long, long time ago.
Yeah, Jackson is second. I believe he had that 1,309-yard season, I want to say, with Chip Kelly. And then, he got cut after that. Yeah. So maybe it's not such a great thing to challenge the throne.
The other one was I think 13 touchdowns, but I think T.O. went to 14 in the 1 year. But he didn't get the yards. But I expect so. I think my yards per catch average might have been 17 or something in that range. But I thought Deshaun Jackson or someone like that would be able to do that. But
Mike, actually in 83, and this is your breakout season, did you break your leg in year one? What was the story?
No, in year one was a strike shortened year.
Oh, strike short. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't sure if you got hurt or not.
And, the head coach at the time, Dick Vermeil, he didn't really believe in rookies playing a lot, getting a lot of snaps. He didn't trust rookies. So I didn't play a whole lot, even with the
wow. Yeah. So the thing that's amazing about your breakout season in 83 is that you averaged 20.4 yards per catch. Back then, even today, that's ridiculous. What kind of routes were you running back then?
I was running by everybody.
Apparently.
Backyard football, just run past everybody.
No, just give me a go route, and I'll go catch. No, we did. Well, we threw the ball downfield. So Dick was the guy, and this is kind of my philosophy even today. We were going to throw the ball deep at least once a quarter. And didn't matter. If we found a situation, especially when I was going to get single coverage, we're going to go deep once a quarter. And because of that, I was able to rack up a lot of yards.
Awesome. Well, we do want to get into this core of Eagles wide receivers with you. And, of course, Mike, Happy New Year, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I do want to tell our listeners to download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code ITB for a special offer when you sign up. That's code ITB for a special offer when you sign up at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, Mike, let's talk about the wide receivers a little bit. Obviously, I think Jalen Reagor is a guy we want to focus on because personally, Adam and I, we talk to people who grade the tape. We watch the games and the tape ourselves. And I think we feel like there's a misconception about this kid's ability to stack cornerbacks in the NFL. It seems like the fans think he was a wasted pick or he can't get deep. But we're noticing that there's times, and even in the last game, where, he almost had that post in the end zone and Jalen Hurts missed him a little bit. So what do you see from Jalen Reagor, especially over the last 3 or 4 weeks since he's really starting to come back and play more?
A lot of talent, a lot of skills, a lot of potential to be really, really good. I can't believe that people are saying that. Well, I don't see the speed. I see the speed. I think he can be really explosive. Now, he's not using his speed all the time, and you don't need to, and you shouldn't. If you're smart in playing the position, you use the speed when you need to use the speed. And there are times when you really don't want to be full tilt. I think he's got some things to learn, especially in terms of releases, press coverage, and how to, as you said, stack a cornerback, how to get shoulder to shoulder with a cornerback. Because when a guy's in press coverage with you and you're able to get shoulder to shoulder with him, he's beaten already. And that's part of what he needs to learn. I saw him earlier in the season against press coverage in the slot, just simply try and run away from the corner rather than give him the little hesitation and lull him to sleep like Deshaun Jackson is so good at, and then running by people. And one of the reasons I was excited to see Deshaun this past week is that I know that he has things that he can show these guys, if it's at practice or if it's during the course of the game, that they can still learn from, because he's really good at that.
Mike, what was the key for you going from a rookie where you only had 10 catches?
Yeah.
Then to set a team record in your sophomore season, over 1,400 yards, over 20 yards per catch on 69 receptions. What was the key of your growth in that offseason?
The biggest key, Adam, was the fact that I learned a lot about football my rookie season. The skill, talent was already there, but I just had to learn a lot of things that I didn't know in terms of defenses and what they were trying to do to me. Even when you're in the slot, because I played both outside and in the slot, and having to understand when the ball is snapped, how teams are rotating and how they're trying to take you away, and the spacing needed in the route concepts and all these different things. My rookie season, I went to school and I learned a lot of football. And the second year, not only did they trust me, the main thing is they started to trust me, but then I also came through because I was ready my sophomore season.
Just one quick follow-up. When you say they trust you, how about the relationship between you and Jaws? How did you develop that?
A lot of time during the strike, we were at a high school field or somewhere. We were throwing balls. We were, during that entire period, I was already in Philadelphia, and we spent a lot of time together just running routes, throwing balls. Harold Carmichael and Wilbert Montgomery and Billy Canfield back then. And a lot of, we just met up. We called around. We had a time to meet up, and we met there and we practiced. And that I believe was very valuable for me.
Isn't that really what a lot of these young wide receivers right now for the Eagles have missed, Mike? I mean, I know that there's always a big jump between year one and year two, but there's also that period as a rookie, the OTAs, the training camps, let alone that. Even during the season, these guys can't come to the complex on Monday and Tuesday because of COVID protocol restrictions. So they don't get to put in the extra time. And do you feel like that's been a big hindrance? Why you've seen inconsistent play from them?
I think that's so important and right on point. I think that's a big reason why some of these guys haven't grown as quickly as you would like to see them grow. I think the part where the chemistry is not there between quarterback and receiver the way we would like it to be at this point has a lot to do with the fact that they haven't spent a lot of time together. Some guys come out of college and they're already polished. They already know how to do the things that I spoke of earlier. The hesitation, stacking cornerbacks, lulling the guy to sleep with a little slippery move early in the route combination. Some guys have that when they come into the league. Some guys need to work on that, and they need someone who can teach and coach that.
Mike, before we kind of move on to another position and take a bigger view, but I do want to talk about Travis Fulgham. He did have that 4-game stretch where he put up more yards than any NFL receiver. I know that his role's changed lately, but what did you see from him earlier this season?
Early, he just looked great. Looks like he could do everything. Looked like he wasn't new to the game at all. And then I don't know if it was him slipping back or if it was other teams starting to pay more attention to him. I think it's the latter, that other teams started to pay more attention to him, understanding that he was at the time the target. And once you become the target, then you really have to show that you can play. You really have to show who you are. I still think that in the 50-50 game, he's a guy that can go up and get the football, high point the ball, and make plays. But he's not a guy who's going to naturally run away from defenders, naturally know how to separate from defenders.
Let me ask you something, Mike. When you came into your own as a receiver, your second year and the third year, you started to really, pile up numbers. Did Coach Vermeil have did he go into the game with specific plays like the Mike Quick playbook? We need to get the ball in the hands of one of our most explosive players. So let's at least have a menu of plays just to make sure he's invested and involved in the game. Was that a thing?
Sure. And it wasn't actually, Vermeil was only my rookie season.
Oh, right.
That was Dick's burnout year.
Mm-hmm.
then Marion Campbell took over. But the offense was Ted Marchibroda and that whole crew. But yes, to answer your question, yeah, there were certain plays and they had, listen, we had a series of plays. So our routes were numbered, 343 and, the numbered system. And my second year, they moved me in the slot quite a bit. And we had plays that were just, they would say open. So if there were outside routes with 3 and the inside route is open and the other outside route 3, it was just telling me to get open. So 3 open 3 or 9 open 9 with me in the slot. And so I would read what the defense is doing and I would counter what the defense is doing. If they're going to double me, someone coming from the inside, and I would work that guy and break away from him or break to him and just finding ways. And so we worked on it in practice. We worked on putting me in a triangle with 3 defenders and me just getting open against whatever defense they threw at me.
Right. So, that seems to be the continued unfortunate theme here with the Eagles right now having kind of a uncertainty at the quarterback position, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. It's not like even in the offseason, these guys can pick the quarterback and go work with him for a while because they don't know what's going to be going on with the quarterback situation for maybe a while.
Right.
Yeah, that's tough. I wanted to ask you one last thing on the wide receiver position because they've gone through wide receiver coach after coach after coach. Have you gotten to know Aaron Moorhead a little bit and observe the job that he's done with this young crew?
Jeff, just like you guys, this is the year when I don't even go around the facility. In past years, I'm there, 2-3 times a week, sometimes more, and I get a chance to sit down with coaches and spend time with all of them or any of them that I choose to. Don't have that luxury this year. I can pick up the phone and call a couple of guys when I have a conversation, but I haven't gotten to know the wide receivers coach.
Okay.
Mike, you've been around great quarterback play, Jaws and others in your career, and you've been around Carson Wentz, calling games with Merrill Reese. You saw Carson in 2017. We looked awesome. Now we see where he's at the point where he's been benched. Just from watching him, why do you think he's regressed to the point that he has?
Adam, that's a great question, but I am not the guy with the answer to that one. Because it's funny you say that, because I've gone back and looked at some earlier footage of Carson this year where he looked tremendous. And then you fast forward and look at some of the things that he did this year, and I don't even understand it. I don't know if it's, I've heard that the hits that he's taken that have piled up on him, the injuries that have piled up, a problem with the coaching that he's getting, a problem with the play calling. No, who knows? I don't even know if Carson understands or knows. But to watch him in some of these plays where he's holding on to the football, realizing there's absolutely nothing there. I went back to the first Washington game, I think it was, where he rolled out to the left. There's nobody there. There's nobody even on that side. He holds on to the football. Not only does he take a sack, he fumbles the ball. And when you see a play like that, you wonder, what could he be thinking? It's simple enough to just throw the ball away. You're far outside the pocket. But just things like that has happened this year, I don't get it, because I've seen him play so well. And that's why I'm not quite ready to close the book on Carson.
Did you ever in your career have like a rough stretch and start to have a crisis of confidence? You don't strike me as someone who would have one of those, Mike, but just wondering.
So yeah, for a receiver, I think it can happen pretty easily with, with dropping balls. And there was a game when I had 3 drops and it really got to me, but it didn't take me long to get over it. But you do have those slumps sometimes in your play. And it can get to your head, especially a receiver. It's one of the reasons why I always try to have conversations with Nelson Aguilar when Nelson was here, because I always saw the skill set with Nelson. I was always a fan of Nelson. In fact, I texted him last week after he made a couple of big plays, just because I'm a fan of Nelson. The skills that he brings to the table, I'm a fan of. And when I see that in a player, I will. So when everyone was killing Nelson, I'm the one that's always said Nelson Aguilar can play. I'm just that way.
And you're right. You were right. He's had a great year for the Raiders. I mean, I don't know where they'd be without him. Mike, the interesting thing about your career was it wasn't just the monster year you had in 83. It was 84 and 85. Everything, catches, yards per catch, super high touchdowns. What was the key to backing up that great breakout season? How did you keep playing? Getting confidence obviously is big in anything you do in life, but what kept you going after that breakout season in 83?
So I was very fortunate to have Harold Carmichael, on the other side of me the first 2 years I was in the league, or even with me, because I was kind of following Harold around my rookie season. And I just watched a lot, Adam. I'm just a little wide-eyed kid, out of the Carolinas that just wanted to learn. I wanted to soak it all in. And I think more than anything else, the fact that I just wanted to know how to do stuff. I wanted to learn how to do stuff. And I watched how other guys did. We had another guy, Ron Smith, who was a really good route runner. Ended up in San Diego or somewhere. I think they might have signed him from San Diego. But Ron was a really good route runner. And all I wanted to do was watch this dude run routes. We had a guy who would film us from ground level and show us our route running. And I would sit and I would watch his route running all the time just because I thought he was so good at it. And I wanted to copy everything that he was doing. And I just think it paid off, the fact that I kind of poured myself into the game when I was young.
Mike, I wanted to ask you more of a broader offensive concept. We don't really know what's going to happen with the tight end position into the field. I think we have a pretty good idea, but you never know. Philosophically, in general, the way the game is played today, do you think it's just better for this franchise to be an 11 personnel dominant team, or do you think they can still make it work and do what they want to do being a 12 personnel dominant team?
So I think that there's a lot of value in having a 12 personnel team. Mm-hmm. I do. I really believe that. And even with all these positionless defensive players, guys who are safeties, who are corners, linebackers, they can play all three, and even the slot position, guys who play 4 and 5 positions. I still believe that a 6'5", 250-pound tight end who can run routes the way both the Eagles tight end run routes and catch the ball, I think they have an advantage. I think physically they can dominate those guys, most of those guys, and I think they have an advantage. And when you have those guys on the field and they're going to bring smaller bodies on the field, they're going to win. If they bring bigger bodies defensively on the field, they're going to win. So I just think that that's a great way to play football.
Mm-hmm. Mike, you were fortunate to play with a guy you mentioned, Wilbert Montgomery, number 31. It was so great. I mean, terrific player. I think Miles Sanders could be that type of player. This year wasn't used quite as much as he was last year in the pass game. What are your thoughts on Miles Sanders going forward here?
So I don't think he's Wilbert, because Wilbert's a different
great.
animal.
Yeah, Wilbert's
so
great.
Wilbert, but see the difference I think is that Wilbert could, if he needed to, run people over.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Wilbert was so tough, and people don't realize how tough he was. But the other attributes, yes, Wilbert could line up out wide. Miles could line up out wide. Wilbert can make people miss. Miles, if you get Wilbert to the second level, he's going to make people miss. Miles Sanders, you get him to the second level, he can make people miss. Miles Sanders can outrun the entire defense, and we've seen that on a number of occasions now. And for the home run, Wilbert could do that. So he has all of those things. And I just think he's the closest thing to a superstar right now that they have on the offensive side of the ball in terms of skill position players. I love the skill set that Miles Sanders has. And I think once you get him to the second level, you know, at any game at any time, he could go the distance.
You bring that up, and obviously, Goddard, if he becomes the number one tight end, he can be a top guy at his position, at least top 4 or 5 guy. Mike, That's what you look at this team right now, and 4 wins, maybe they get 5. They're not the Jaguars, they're not the Jets, they're not some of these teams that don't have any talent, right? Nobody thought this team was going to be this record, and if you go back to when Chip Kelly took over his first year, he was able to have all these guys, Deshaun, Macklin, right? Although Macklin tore his ACL, but then he had Shady. He was able to kind of take things over and with the talent that he had. And we'll see what happens with the Eagles in the future. But I feel like they've got a pretty good amount of talent. They just need to get back on track. I don't know if they need a rebuild on offense. You would agree?
Yeah, I completely agree. I like the talent. I think that this team has to get better on their coaching staff, quite honestly. I think this team certainly has to get healthy. If you look at this offensive line, say you get Brooks back, you get Lane back, and they're healthy. You got Isaac. You got both those tackles. You've got Andre Dillard. You got Jordan Mailata. You got Nate Herbig, who's played really well. You've got what's the other kid out of Auburn?
Oh, Jack Driscoll.
Jack Driscoll. Look at the valuable time that these guys have gotten on the field this year. And now you bring all of those other guys back and you look at the offensive line, you've got 8 deep that are really talented on your offensive line. And when you can start that way, when you can dominate, because if Brooks come back and he's healthy, he's a dominant player. When you can dominate the offensive line, you can win a lot of football. So to me, it all begins there. I like the flash of the guys that are the skilled players, but I understand you got to have the big uglies who can dominate the line of scrimmage for you to win football games.
Yeah, what a specimen Brandon Brooks is, by the way, to be activated into the 21-day window this week. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, he's a special dude, man.
Yeah.
And I love the way that he has worked both times through the injury just to get back to like where he is now.
Mike, we talked about Carson Wentz. Jalen Hurts certainly has gotten 3 starts already. He's going to get his 4th this week. What are your thoughts on Hurts so far?
It's a small sample, and I think he has a lot of growth, a lot of room to grow, and he needs to grow a whole lot. He can definitely run the ball. We've seen that. I thought in that first game in New Orleans, I thought he caught them a little bit off guard. I don't think they realized how fast he was. So you've seen the teams after the 2 teams they played after that be a little more careful with trying to keep guys in front of him and not allow him to get to the outside too much. And that's what teams are going to do. Teams are going to try and force him to win from behind the center, from behind the line of scrimmage. And you saw last week he had some trouble with that. The very first play of the game, he has an end cut that he hops to the wide receiver who's wide open. When you have opportunities like that, you have to connect on those opportunities. He missed on a few opportunities. But as I said, it's a small sample, but I see that the kid is talented. I didn't anticipate him playing as well as he played against the Saints. And I thought he would play better than he played against Dallas. But the kid has a lot of talent. He has a lot of potential. And I could see growing with him. I could see if they decide that they want to go that route. I understand. And I could see how you've got the pieces around him already for him to be successful. Then it's just a matter of grooming him the right way. If the Eagles decide to go that way, you understand that that's the style of offense that they want to run. One where you have a quarterback that's mobile, that you can put in quarterback runs and a lot of options for your quarterback. And that really stresses the defense because you don't have the pleasure of playing 11 guys on 10 if you got that kind of guy at quarterback. You have to account for him as a runner.
No doubt about it. Very interested to see the future and what becomes of Jalen Hurts. Before I said it was last question, but I got to put you on the spot before we get out of here. I want you to finish this sentence for me. The greatest wide receiver in Eagles history is
Harold Carmichael.
Nice. I had a feeling you might say that.
Look it in 17. Yeah, there you
Absolutely.
go. Look it in.
Harold Carmichael. So listen, I would say this. Now, I didn't get to see Tommy McDonald, and I know he was a great receiver, 25. I got to meet him, know him a little bit. Fun guy. It was a pleasure to get to know him. Didn't watch him play, but the most talented that I've seen play in Philadelphia was Terrell Owens. The best receiver I saw play in Philadelphia was Harold Carmichael. Period.
Right, well, we know you're up in that conversation yourself. You won't say it,
I'm
but
okay.
we will. You were more than okay. Listen, man, Happy New Year. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate all the insight. And hopefully we'll have you back on Inside the Birds down in the future.
It's good joining you guys, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year to all the viewers as well. Remember, you can catch the last Inside the Birds live pregame show on Sunday with myself, Adam Caplan, Trey Thomas, and Greg Cosell. Everybody enjoy New Year's, and we'll catch you again on the next Inside the Birds TV.